Hello, my dreamers. I wake up day 5 with a calm feeling inside my chest. Not because all my problems are gone, but because something inside me feels settled. And before I even open my eyes, a deep question rises in my heart, gentle but powerful, as if God Himself is speaking softly to me. How will you treat the life I gave you, now that you know it is precise? Not asking me how much money I will make, but asking how I will care for my soul, my body, my dreams, and my joy. Today is not about fear. Today is not about proving anything. Today is about celebrating being alive. As I step out into the streets of Seoul, the city feels bright and modern. Glass buildings shining under the light, people walking fast with purpose, soft music loading from cafes, and I feel like I'm walking inside the dream I once thought was too far away for someone like me. I make my way toward Myeongdong, a place famous for shopping, beauty, and life, and as I get closer, everything becomes more colorful. Cosmetic shops glowing with soft white lights, beautiful displays arranged carefully, music playing gently from open doors, and suddenly my heart feels light again. As I walk past the Korean cosmetic stores, I notice the clean designs, the gentle colors, the calm atmosphere, and I imagine step inside, touching the products, smelling the soft fragrances, looking at my reflection in the mirror, and realizing something important. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it is respect for the life you were given. Inside one shop, I imagine a staff member greeting me kindly, shelves filled with skincare products that feels more like care than luxury. And in that moment, I'm not worried about tomorrow or yesterday. I'm simply present, breathing, smiling, and allowing myself to enjoy beauty without guilt. God's question returned again, quietly but clearly. Do you believe you deserve joy too? That question stayed with me as I walked deeper into the city, because for so long I believed purpose had to be painful, heavy, and serious. But today I understand something new. Joy itself can be meaningful, and enjoying life can be an act of gratitude. As I continue walking toward the big shopping areas, imagining places like Loading Mall and Coex Mall, huge modern spaces filled with light, movement, and creativity, I feel inspired not to spend blindly, but to dream bigger, to imagine a future where my life is not only meaningful, but also beautiful, comfortable, and full of small moments of happiness. Day 5 begins with the new understanding that a full life includes joy, beauty, rest, and appreciation, and that God's gift of life is not meant to be carried only as responsibility, but also as something to be enjoyed. And this is only the beginning of today's journey. As I step inside one of the biggest shopping spaces in Seoul, like Coex Mall, I pause for a moment, because the size of the place alone feels overwhelming. spaces stretching in every direction, high ceilings filled with light, polished floors reflecting movement, and people from all over the world walking calmly, confidently, as if they belong here. For a long time, places like this existed only in my imagination, something I watched through screens, thinking they were meant for other people, people with money, confidence, and certainty. But today, standing here, I feel something shift inside me, a quiet understanding that I'm allowed to be here too. That dreams do not belong to a special group, but to anyone brave enough to imagine them. I walk slowly, not rushing, allowing myself to look around. International brand, Korean fashion stores, bookstores, technology shops, everything arranged beautifully. And I realized that abundance doesn't have to create anxiety, that seeing more doesn't mean wanting everything, and that simply being exposed to possibility can expand the mind. As I pass by clothing stores, I imagine trying on simple outfits, touching fabrics, observing styles, not to impress others, but to understand expression, how people here use fashion as a language, a quiet way of telling the world who they are without saying a word. And that inspires me to think about my own identity, how I want to show up in life, not just what I want to achieve. God's question returns again, but this time it feels different, not challenging, but reassuring. Can you walk through abundance without feeling smaller? And in that moment, I answer quietly within myself. Yes, I can learn to walk here without fear, without comparison, without shame, knowing that my journey has its own timing, and that exposure to beauty is not a threat, but an invitation. I stopped at the bookstore inside the mall, shelves filled with knowledge, stories, ideas from every part of the world. And I imagine picking up a book, flipping through pages, realizing that growth happens not only through struggle, but through curiosity, learning, and allowing the mind to expand beyond survival. Later, I imagine walking out of the mall and stepping into a cozy cafe, maybe near Gangnam, a place known for style, energy, and modern life. And as I open the cafe door, warm air greets me, the smell of coffee fills the space, soft music plays in the background, and time feels slow over here. I sit by the window with the warm milk in my hands, watching people pass by, couples talking, friends laughing, individuals working quietly on laptops. And for the first time in a long while, I do not feel rushed to become someone else. I feel peaceful becoming myself. but only the ability to sit calmly, enjoy a simple cup of coffee, and feel grateful for how far you've come, even if you're still on the way. Day 5 continues not with noise, but with clarity, teaching me that abundance is not something to chase blindly, but something to walk through with confidence, patience, and self-respect. As evening slowly arrives, the sky over Seoul begins to change color. Soft blues turning into deep shades of night. And I find myself walking again toward Myeongdong. But this time, it feels completely different from the morning, because at night, this place transforms into a living, breathing river of lights, sound, and movement. Neon sign glows above the street. Cosmetic shops shine even brighter than before. Street music drifts through the air. People laugh, talk, walk freely, and I feel something warm spread through my chest. A feeling that tells me I am alive in this moment, fully present, not rushing, not escaping, just experiencing. I walk slowly through the streets, watching people stop at small stalls, testing skincare products, sharing food, taking photos, enjoying life without apology. And suddenly I realize how much courage it takes to simply allow yourself to enjoy the world, especially when you come from a place where survival always came first. As I pass more shops, I imagine buying small things, not expensive, not unnecessary, but meaningful. Souvenirs that remind me of this feeling, of this stage of my life where I chose growth over fear, experience over hesitation, and faith over doubt. God's question comes back again, this time wrapped in gentleness. Can you trust that your time will come, even if it hasn't yet? That question hits deeply because comparison is loud in places like this. Success looks close, wealth looks visible, and dreams feel both near and far at the same time. But as I keep walking, I remind myself that timing is not punishment, delay is not denial, and every step I take is part of something bigger than I can see right now. I stop near a small street food stand. The smell of grilled snacks filling the air, and I imagine holding something warm in my hand, maybe tteokbokki or a simple sweet snack. Standing there among strangers, realizing that joy doesn't ask for perfection, it only asks for presence. As the night grows deeper, the crowds continue moving, but inside me, something becomes calm, steady, grounded, and I understand that dreams are not built only through big decisions, but through small moments where you choose belief instead of fear. Walking through Myeongdong at night, surrounded by lights and life, I feel encouraged, not pressured, inspired, not rushed, and I tell myself quietly that my life doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. Day 5 begins to slow down, but its message becomes clearer. Enjoy where you are, trust where you are going, and remember that faith grows strongest not when everything is clear, but when you continue walking even when it isn't. As the night slowly begins to quiet down, I step away from the bright streets and into a small, peaceful cafe tucked between buildings, a place where the lights are soft, the music is slow, and time seems to slow down on purpose, and I feel grateful for this contrast because life is not meant to be loud all the time. I sit down with a warm drink in my hands, watching the stream rise gently, listening to the hum of quiet conversations, and in this stillness, I allow the day to settle inside me. Every step, every light, every feeling finding its place in my heart. And today was not about how much I bought, how many shops I visited, or how perfect everything looked, but about something deeper. Learning that joy is not something to postpone until success arrives, but something to practice along the way. God's question comes one last time, not as a challenge, but as reassurance. Will you trust me enough to enjoy the journey, not just the destination? And in this moment, sitting quietly in soul, I feel my answer forming naturally, not loud, not dramatic, just honest. Yes, I will try, even on days when doubt returns, even when the path feels slow, even when the future feels uncertain. As I leave the cafe and walk back through the calm streets, I notice small details I missed before. The way lights reflect on the pavement, the soft sound of footsteps, the peaceful rhythm of the city at rest, and I realize that these quiet moments are just as important as the exciting ones. Back in my room, I prepare to rest. I reflect on how far I've come, not in distance, but in mindset, understanding that growth doesn't always look like struggle, and that sometimes healing looks like allowing yourself to feel happiness without guilt. Day 5 ends with gratitude, not for perfection, but for